Hello, everyone, and it is the spring equinox, and I thought, what a better time to do the art card than on the spring equinox, because for some reason it feels appropriate to do it. So we are now going into R214. Last one we did was Death. That was done about 4 nights ago, I think, something around that. And this is probably going to be this card is sort of in relation to the Lovers card. It actually sort of mentions it in the Lovers that you sort of need to read art to sort of understand the Lovers. And I think that's a really important thing, right? Because like with the Lovers, usually a single thing is born of it. But like behind the veil, love actually causes a division. If you want to think about that, instead of unity. So we are now in the art card, which is the combination of forces, which is sort of, again, what the chariot kind of is when you talk about alchemy and that kind of thing. So, yep, combination of forces, realization, action based on accurate calculation, the way of escape, success after elaborate maneuvers. Yep, so that's sort of feels like a certain point in my life right now where I need to do some elaborate maneuvers in particular. I've certainly done a lot in the past year or two, where I've come close to total destruction, but somehow by the skin of my teeth, avoided it. So, and yeah, somehow I always land on my feet, and I think that's another thing. I think that's the reason why I'm always landing on my feet is because I'm in line with what I'm supposed to be doing. And another really important thing also is, once you start to become like really attuned to your intuition, you can sort of extend your cognition to your microcosm outside of yourself. So in a sense, you can start using the lay of the land as an extension of your cognition, and I think that's really important. All right, let's begin. This card is the complement and the fulfillment of R26. Gemini. It pertains to Sagittarius, the opposite to Gemini in the zodiac, and therefore after another manner, one with it. So yeah, after another manner. That's gonna be a bit of a theme, because like, even though like the world is made up of, or the universe is made up of opposites, there's still weird asymmetry. So for example, Keter is in Malkut, Malkut is in Keter, but after another fashion. So light sort of lights up the room, and that kind of thing, and that's how we see things. But also matter is also light, but it's in a standing wave, and it doesn't really emit light, and it's solid. It's different. It's the same thing. It's made of the same thing, but it's different. Sagittarius means the archer, and the card is, in its simplest and most primitive form, a picture of Diana the huntress. Diana is primarily one of the lunar goddesses, though the Romans rather degraded her from the Greek virgin Artemis, who is also the great mother of fertility. Diana of the Ephesians, many-breasted. Then never mind. Mine's in the gutter a little bit. A form of Isis C R2 2 and 3. So that would be so they're actually both forms of Isis. So the High Priestess and the Empress. So that actually might be, that probably actually is the High Priestess and the Empress, Venus and the Moon, actually working together. And it's actually fire, and this is sort of where the libido, I guess, sort of comes from when you think about it. So I didn't make that connection before. That's really interesting. The connection between the moon and the huntress is shown by the shape of the bow, and the occult significance of Sagittarius is the arrow piercing the rainbow. The last 3 paths of the tree of life make the word Kesef a rainbow. Oh, I didn't know that. And Sagittarius bears the arrow which pierces the rainbow. His path leads from the moon of Yesod to the sun of Tippereth. This explanation is highly technical, but this is necessary because the card represents an important scientific formula which cannot be expressed in language suited to common comprehension. Yeah, so there's plenty of stuff that like that is explainable in science that is not even, that can be explained in metaphysical terms, but scientists can't wrap their head around, which I find kind of funny. But that's actually changing. Like, I've noticed that, like, in particular with quantum physicists, for example, they are, like, they're more likely to sound like mystics than just your typical normie atheist materialist scientist. This card represents the consummation of the royal marriage, which took place in R2-6. Okay, so yeah, the combination of forces, the two linking together. The black and white personages are now united in a single androgen figure. Even the bees and the serpent of their robes have made an alliance. That's actually so interesting because just a day ago at work, bees were, like, for whatever reason on my work vehicle, bees were fucking swarming around it. And I wanted to see if the queen bee just flew into my ute, but no. For some reason, bees were all around it. So that's actually such an interesting synchronicity right there. The red line has become white, increases in size and importance, while the white equals similarly expanded has become red. He has exchanged his red blood for her white gluten. It is impossible to explain these terms to any but advanced students of alchemy. I think I sort of get it, but maybe not. So I'm not going to actually comment on that because I'm actually not super sure. But it's definitely worth mentioning because that's like fire and water, and that's the androgen figure. And that's sort of the libido in the eagle, which gives flight, I guess, when you combine forces. The equilibrium and counterchange are carried out completely in the figure itself. The white woman is now a black bead, the black king a white one. She wears the golden crown with a silver band. He, the silver crown with a golden fillet, but the white head on the right is extended in action by a white arm on the left, which holds the cup of white gluten, while the black head on the left has the black arm on the right holding the lance, which has become a torch and pours forth its burning blood. The fire burns up the water extinguishes the fire. Yeah, so is there a white gluten, while the black on the left has the black arm on the right holding the lance, which has become a torch. Okay, so that's earth and fire being poured into the cauldron here, and I think that's probably quite important. Bit of symbolism, because that's gluten, and that's the fiery lance. Or is it the other way around? Wait, no, that's sort of gluten and... Anyway, you sort of get the idea. So that's sort of fire and earth. The robe of figure is green, which symbolizes vegetable growth. This is an alchemical allegory. In the symbolism of the father of science, all actual objects were regarded as dead. The difficulty of transmuting metals was that the metals, as they occur in nature, were in the nature of excrements because they did not grow. The first problem of alchemy was to raise mineral to vegetable life. The adepts thought that the proper way to do this was to imitate the process of nature. Distillation, for instance, was not an operation to be performed by heating something in a retort over a flame. It had to take place naturally, even if months were required to consummate the work. Months at that period of civilization were at the disposal of inquiring minds. So, yeah, some stuff actually does need to sort of coagulate naturally, and you can't rush certain processes. And I think that's a really important part. Like, you can't just burn something down. Something's distilled. So, like, for example, when you're baking bread, right? It has to be done at a certain temperature. It has to take a certain amount of time. What happens if you turn the heat up too much? It just burns, and like the inside can actually stay gooey. So it actually imperfectly coagulates. So coagulation, therefore, actually sometimes, or alchemically speaking, needs to have balance to get the final product that you want. A great deal of what people now consider ignorance, being themselves ignorant of what the old men of old time thought, comes from this misapprehension. Ain't that the fucking truth? At the bottom of this card, for example, are seen fire and water harmoniously mingled. At the bottom of this card. Oh, there is. Like, that's actually water and fire. Interesting. And you know what's kind of interesting, because alcohol is sort of the closest thing to that, and alcohol does mean something along the lines of alchemy, and alcohol's flammable, but it's watery, and it's actually the least viscous substance on Earth. Like, the second least viscous substance is water. So, and I've sometimes heard in some languages that alcohol literally means fire water. So think about that. A great deal of what people and and maybe while we're at it, consider the fact that alcohol is made from yeast and sugar. So basically crops. And it's the fire and the distillation and heat which actually cause the ability to have fire water. Never thought about that. So maybe for you people out there, maybe the secret of alchemy is actually in the I'm not advocating it, by the way, just to cover my ass, YouTube and government, that I don't advocate making alcohol without a license. Do so at your own risk. But that's probably the secret of alchemy is actually just in the making of alcohol. Like it's right there in front of you. And I find it interesting that like the name Everclear like refers to that really clear sort of part of it. So I think that's incredibly interesting. The state of the grateful. Oh, sorry, wait, hold on. Where were we? Okay, yeah. But this only a crude symbol of the spiritual idea, which is the satisfaction of the desire of the incomplete element of one kind to satisfy its form by assimilation of its equal and opposite. So earth and fire, and that's sort of So yeah, androgen. So the princess and the father, in a sense, and that's sort of what the hermit sort of is sort of a part of. There's a lot of that stuff going on in there. This state of the great work therefore consists in the mingling of the contradictory elements in a cauldron. This is here represented as golden or solar, because the sun is the father of all life, and in particular presides over distillation. The fertility of the earth is maintained by rain and the sun. And sun. The rain is formed by slow and gentle processes and is rendered effective by the cooperation of air, which is itself alchemically the result of the marriage of fire and water. There you go. Intellect. I knew it. Fucking hell. So like mediation between heaven and earth, essentially. That's what Mercury sort of is, and that's why it's relegated to air and sometimes water in a weird way. Because as you can see, hot is on the pillar of its water attribution. So also the formula of continued life is death or putrefaction. Here it is symbolized by the caput mortem or the cauldron. A raven perched upon a skull in agricultural terms. This is the fallow earth. Oh, no way. That's so interesting, man. Because I actually always have crows, which are, I guess, close enough to ravens, and I find it really interesting that I always have them in my yard. It's kind of interesting. So there is that. There is a particular interruption of this card, which is only to be understood by initiates of the ninth degree of the OTO, for it contains a practical magical force of such importance as to make it impossible to communicate it openly. Yeah, whatever. Rising from the cauldron as a result of the operation performed is a stream of light which becomes two rainbows. They form the cape of the androgen figure. In the center, an arrow shoots upward. Yep, I didn't notice that either. An arrow shoots upward. And it was interesting. I was getting recommended archery videos recently, and like with fire arrows and shit like that, and I'd never looked up an archery video in my fucking life. So I had it's weird that it's doing that. This is connected with the general symbolism previously explained, the spiritualization of the result of the great work. And I think it's also important to remember how the arrow is phallic, which is probably a really important part of it as well when you're combining forces. The rainbow is moreover a symbolical of another stage in the alchemical process. At a certain period, as a result of putrefaction, there is observed a phenomenon of many colored lights, the coat of many colors. said to have been worn by Joseph and Jesus in the ancient legends refers to this. See also R20, the motley of the Green Man, Gaia, Dreamer, Redeemer. And while we're talking about like the conflict in Iran and like the oil prices going up, have you ever noticed how oil sort of shimmers like with rainbow sort of stuff? And it's the putrefaction and it's flammable and it's really useful for making stuff go. So maybe for whatever reason, the Iran conflict is an alchemical allegory to be uncovered for people to turn their ideas to crude oil and putrefaction and how that brings about life and motion in cars. The fact that we also use petrochemicals to make pretty much everything we can think of, from electronics to cars to buildings and using pretty much fucking everything, but also to make cars go, to make aviation fuel, to do movement, I think is a really interesting thing to think about as well. So that is very important, people. So think about alcohol and think about crude oil. Alcohol with the use of like earth and fire, and then of course putrefaction from crude oil. To sum up, the whole of this card represents the hidden content of the egg described in R2-6. It is the same formula, but in a more advanced stage. The original duality has been completely compensated, but after birth comes growth, after growth, puberty, and after puberty, purification. In this card, therefore, it is foreshadowed in the final stage of the great work. Behind the figure, it edges tinged with the rainbow, which has now arisen from the twin rainbows forming the cape of the figure. Is a glory bearing an inscription, Vista Interior Terrae Rectificano en Venias Occultum Lapidum. What does that mean? Let's find out. Visit the interior of the earth and purifying yourself, you'll find the hidden stone. In filth it will be found, people. In filth it will be found. There you go. That right there. Maybe internalize that. Visit the interior of the earth and purifying yourself, you will find the hidden stone. The hidden stone, like I was saying sort of before on a Substack note, is that the Philosopher's Stone is not something like literal or material or a book or whatever. It's yourself. You will find the stone from within. And this is where the libido comes in. So consider that. Very much. I didn't see that. Yeah, visit the interior parts of the earth by rectification, thou shalt find the hidden stone. Its initiates make the word vitriol. Damn, like vitriol, yeah, the universal solvent. To be discussed later, its value is 726, which equals 6, multiply 112 by 333 and 22. Okay. I'll have to look a little bit into that, but this is pretty heady stuff, man. This is good. I'm actually glad I've started doing this, even though, yeah. The hidden stone. This hidden stone is also called the universal medicine. It is sometimes described as a stone, sometimes as a powder, sometimes as a tincture. It divides again into two forms: the gold and the silver, the red and the white. But its essence is always the same, and its nature is not to be understood except by experience. That is basically what it is, people. So like through the lead of everyday experience of Saturn and the universe, you can transmute all of that shit into gold and all the materials of gold and silver to make the great work. Maybe the great work isn't so far away if people actually pulled their fucking head in and actually did some, psychoanalysis, reconfigurations, and all other kinds of things. And guess what? Not enough people are doing it, and it's really sad that all this stuff that we put out on the internet and is out wide in the fucking open, no one reads it. It's incredible, people. Anyway, enough of that rant. It is because the alchemists were dealing with substances on the borderland of matter, yeah, there you go, that they are so difficult to understand. The subject matter of chemistry and physics in modern times is what they would have called the study of dead things. Interesting, because I'm studying chemistry and physics, so. For the real difference between living things and dead is, in the first instance, their behavior. The initials of the alchemical motto given above form the word vitriol. So that's the one we just done. So this has nothing to do with the sulfates of either hydrogen, iron, copper, as might be supposed from modern usage. It represents a balanced combination of three alchemical principles: sulfur, mercury, and salt. These names have no connection with substance so named by the vulgar. They have already been described in R2 1.111. What? Come again? R2 1.111. Based on the search results. Is it just referring to the full? Yeah, it is. Okay, it's just the full. Never mind. The council to visit the... Oh, yeah, and it's kind of interesting that I did that one in 3 installments, actually. And it's got 111. But back to it. The council to visit the interior Earth is a recapitulation on a higher plane of the first formula of the work, which has been the constant theme of these essays. The important word in the injunction is the essential word rectificando. It implies the right leading of the new living substance in the path of the true will. The stone of the philosophers, the universal medicine, is to be a talisman of use in any event, a completely elastic and completely rigid vehicle of the true will of the alchemist. It is to fertilize and bring to manifested life the Orphic egg. Yeah, so the Orphic egg, so like the birth of the universe in a lot of respects. The arrow, both in this card and the R26, is of supreme importance. The arrow is, in fact, the simplest and purest glyph of Mercury, being the symbol of directed will. So, directed will is a combination of forces. So that's a really important thing to keep in mind. Of like the silver and the gold. And silver is sort of the psyche and the intuition. I mean, the psyche and like consciousness, awareness. So that's actually what it is. It's not... So the libido is obviously the putrefaction and the making of it, but then the silver and the gold is like the sun and the moon, essentially. Combined together. It is right to infer this fact by quotation from the fourth Aether, lit in the vision and the voice. All right. Now then, behold, the head of the dragon is but the tail of the Aether. Many are they that have fought their way from mansion to mansion of everlasting house, and beholding me at last have returned, declaring, fearful is the aspect of the mighty and terrible one. Happy are they that have known me for whom I am, and glory unto him that have made a gallery of my throat of his arrow of truth, and the moon for his purity. The moon waneth, the moon waneth, the moon waneth. For in that arrow is the light of truth that overmastereth the light of the sun, whereby she shines. The arrow is fledged with the plumes of Mart, that are the plumes of Ammon, and the shaft is the phallus of Ammon, the concealed one, and the barb thereof is the star that thou sawest in this place where was no God. And of them that guarded the star there was not found one worthy to wield the arrow, and of them that worshipped there was not found one worthy to behold the arrow. Yet the star that thou sawest was but the barb of the arrow, and thou hast not the wit to grasp the shaft, or the purity to divine the plumes. Now therefore he is blessed that he is born under the sign of the arrow, and blessed is he that hath the sigil of the head, of the crown lion, and the body of the snake, and the arrow therewith. So it sounds like the arrow is almost another sort of... Think of it this way. Look, it's actually sort of like a reversed sort of tongue. Instead of the splitting of like the snake's forked tongue, it's actually the arrow that actually it's sort of going back in on itself as the combination of forces, which is the completion of the great work, and shooting upward towards the sun and consciousness. Yet though distinguish between the upward and the downward arrows, for the upward arrow is straightened in its flight and it is shot by a firm hand. From Yesod is Yod tetragrammaton, and Yod is a hand. But the downward arrow is shot by the topmost point of Yod, and the Yod is the hermit, and is the minute point that is not extended, that is nigh under the heart of Fedit. So, I think, because I've been thinking about this recently, and I think it's got something to do with like this constant cycle in the universe, right? I don't think we should worry about returning to the light because, in a sense, we can't. Because as soon as the alchemical marriage is completed, like where all marriages are combined and so on and so forth, it just splits again because energy cannot be created or destroyed. So in some respects, you just got to enjoy the journey more than the actual destination. And that's something that I'm learning to do a lot more as of late. And now it is commanded that that thou withdraw thyself from the vision, and on the morrow at the appointed hour shall it be given thee further, as thou goest upon thy way, mediating this mystery. And thou shalt summon the scribe, and that which shall be written shall be written. There I withdraw myself as I am commanded, the desert between Bunshra and Tolga, December 12, 1909, 7/8, 12 midnight. Now there art thou approached up unto an august arcanum. Verily thou art come unto the ancient marvel, the winged light, the fountains of fire, the mystery of the wedge. But it is not I that can reveal it, for I have never been permitted to behold it. Who I am but the watcher upon the threshold of the aether. My message is spoken, my mission is accomplished, and I withdraw myself, covering my face with my wings, before the presence of the angel of the aether. Yeah, so God's face, in a sense, cannot never be like the one true God, like the source consciousness, if you will, probably can never be truly beholden of any man, and it's impossible in that respect. So the angel departed with bowed head, folding his wings across. As there is a little child in a mist of blue light, he has golden hair, a mass of curls, and deep blue eyes. Yeah, he is all gold with a living, vivid gold. Yet he is all gold with in each hand he hath a snake, in the right hand a red, in the left hand a blue, and he have red sandals but no other garment. I want to stop there because there is that I need to probably read it now because I was sort of like hearing about how the zodiac is actually the 12 zodiacs are also the 12 labors of Hercules or Heracles. And he, as a child, actually takes control of 2 snakes as a baby. And it probably actually has something to do with that. Yeah, massive curls, deep blue eyes, and his head is golden. So that's actually, that's Heracles. So maybe I should look into Heracles a bit more because that's a very interesting thing to think about. And he saith, is not life a long initiation unto sorrow, and is not Isis the lady of sorrow, and she is my mother. Nature is her name, and she has a twin sister Nephthys, whose name is perfection. And Isis must be known of all, but of how few is Nephthys known, because she is dark, therefore she is feared. Yeah, life is just an initiation of sorrow if you think about it. Like it's full of disappointments, it's full of frustrations, it's full of anger, it's full of all kinds of crap that we would rather not deal with. But thinking about it, like, if there was never really a choice for the universe to manifest itself, and there was never a choice for you to be born, I think in some respects, like, we don't really have a choice but to exist while we're on this planet. And I think that is a particularly important point because it's no good sort of raving and crying about existence, because I'm guilty of doing that quite a lot. But it's only just sort of recently that if we're stuck here and we can't get out of it, we may as well do our best, because ending it all, doing Seppuku is not gonna or committing Sudoku as some people call it, is not going to change a damn thing. You're just going to land into another body again. So just bear the existence, as tough as it may be. But though who have adored her without fear, who has made thy life an initiation into a mystery, though thou have neither mother nor father nor sister nor brother nor wife nor child, who has made thyself lonely as the hermit crab. Sorry guys, that is actually such a that's actually a very permanent synchronicity that I've had, but I'm not going to go into it because it's kind of personal. So, but yeah. The hermit crab that is in the waters of the great sea. Behold, when the cisterns are shaken and the trumpets blare forth the glory of Isis, it is at the end, therefore, there is silence, and those that shall commune with Nephthys. And I think when we are at the end, therefore, so I think it's just referring to death. When you die, there's pure silence of thought and everything, and then that's when you know Nephthys. But the moment you are born again, you don't know her. I guess that's what it is, because perfection is complete silence, and that means unmanifestation. Not being here. Whew, this is a heady one, man, because because it's interesting, because I've read this before, but now that I'm looking at it and sort of explaining it, it's really profound, actually. Okay. And having known these are the wings of Malt the vulture, thou mayest draw to an hair the bow of thy magical will, thou mayest lose the shaft and pierce her to the heart. I am Eros. Take the bow and the quiver from my shoulders and slay me, for unless thou slay me, thou shalt not unveil the mystery of the aether. Therefore I did as he commanded. In the quiver were 2 arrows, one white, one black. I cannot force myself to fit an arrow to the bow. And there came a voice, it must needs be. And I said, no man can do this thing. And the voice answered, as it were an echo, Nemo hoc fata poste. Let's read that. Well, that's Nemo means no one's. I know that much. No one is able to do this. Wow, okay. So let's actually look at that again. Therefore I did it, he commanded. The quiver were 2 arrows, one white, one black. I can force myself to fit an arrow into the bow. It must needs be. And I said, no man can do this. And the voice answered, as it were an echo, Nemo, yeah, no man can do this. Then came understanding to me, and I took forth the arrows. The white arrow had no barb, but the black arrow was barbed like a forest of fish hooks. It was bound round with brass, and it had been dipped in deadly poison. Then I fitted the white arrow to the string, and I shot it against the heart of Eros. And though I shot with all my force, it fell harmlessly on his side. But at the moment the black arrow was thrust through mine own heart, I am fearful with fear. Fuck. I am filled with fearful agony. And the child smiles and says, although thy shaft has pierced me not, although the envenomed barb has struck thee, though, yet I am slain, and thou livest and triumphest, for I am thou, and thou art I. With that he disappears, and the aether splits with a roar as of 10,000 thunders. And behold, the arrow, the plumes of Mart are its crown, set about the disc. It is Atep crown of Thoth. Atep crown of Thoth. This fuck, man. And there is the shaft of burning light, and beneath there is a silver wedge. I shudder and tremble at the vision, for all about it are whirls and torrents of tempestuous fire. The stars of heavens are caught in the ashes of the flame, and they are all dark. That which was a blazing sun is like a speck of ash. And in the midst of the arrow burns, then I see that the crown of the arrow is the father of all light, and shaft of the arrow is the father of all life, and the barber of the arrow is the father of all love. For that silver wedge is like a lotus flower, and the eyes within the Atef crown crieth, I watch, and the shaft crieth, I work, and the barb crieth, I wait, and the voice of the Aether echoes, it beams, it burns, it blooms. And now there cometh a strange thought. This arrow is the source of all motion, it is infinite motion, yet it moveth not, so there is no motion. Yeah, I think it's because like when people say time is an illusion, because in order to give movement, like time has to be a function of one of the dimensions. And if time is an illusion, that means movement's an illusion as well. And in some respect, we're never actually moving towards the goal, and we're never completing it. Sorry, guys, you're stuck here forever. But those plumes quit this. And now I come off a crow, and a voice beams, that which is above is not like that which is below. And yeah, that's sort of what I was saying in the beginning. So this is important to sort of get, because not everything is... There is a form of asymmetry. So man veiled in woman form. And if you consider the fact that a fetus is always born a woman first, and then at a certain stage it either grows testes and a penis, and or it stays a woman, and that's got something to do with that sort of asymmetry. And it's the same with light, and energy, and also I'm almost afraid to say it. There's an asymmetry. Actually, you know what? I'm going to save it for this one. The devil. Because that's actually... It's just been a very intense video. There's some really heady, good stuff. I'm repeating myself. Let's continue. And a third voice answers these two. What is above and what is below? For there is the division that divideth not, the multiplication that multiplieth not. And the one is the many. Behold, the mystery is beyond understanding, for the winged globe is the crown, and the shaft is the wisdom. And the barb is the understanding. And the arrow is one, and thou art lost in the mystery, who art but as a babe that is carried in the womb of its mother, thou art not yet ready for the light. And the vision overcometh me. My sense is stunned, my sight is blasted, my hearing is dulled. And a voice cometh, thou didst seek the remedy of sorrow, therefore all sorrow is thy portion. That which is written. Yeah, those didst seek remedy of sorrow. Yeah, we have a good... In some respects, trying to remedy sorrow is actually a fool's errand. In some respects. Because it's the condition of existence in the first place. And that's what usually people do when they first come into the mysteries. They try to, they either try to seek power, they try to seek understanding. For me, I wanted to sort of know the truth behind God and death, and also to ease my suffering, because I was in a bad way, man, before I came to this stuff. And I've noticed that no, you're not. I'm not going to ease my sorrow, man. It's sort of profound, actually. So, yeah, deep thought. God had laid upon him the iniquity of us all. For as thy blood is mingled in the cup of Babylon, so is thy heart in the universal heart. Yet it is bound about with the green serpent, the serpent of delight. Yeah, so that's the basically the illusion of separateness, right? Your heart, it also sort of belongs to the universe, and closing yourself off makes you blackened and all that other kind of thing, and putrefied. Don't cut your blood flow off; it's not good. And if you think you're gonna end your sorrows, when it comes to initiation, I've got fucking news for you. And I'm sort of coming to terms with that. Yeah, it is shown me that this heart is the heart that rejoiceth, and the serpent is the serpent of Thoth. For herein all the symbols are interchangeable, for each one containeth in itself its own opposite. And it is in the great mystery of the supernals that are beyond the abyss. For below the abyss, contradiction is division, but above the abyss, contradiction is unity. And there could be nothing true except by virtue of contradiction that is contained in and of itself. And I actually going back to this one. So God hath laid upon him the iniquity of us all. I was sort of really thinking about this the other day. Because the universe actually kind of requires error to exist. Because perfection is perfect silence, right? So God is not perfect. The universe is not perfect. The universe is in some ways faulty. It's just seeking to know itself still, through all its opposites and that kind of thing. And that, I think that's sort of what goes back to the sort of the I guess the Gnostic canon, where the demiurge is sort of depicted as, sometimes he's depicted as evil and tyrannical, which is and sometimes he's depicted not as evil but just foolish and a bit retarded, to say the least. And that is a very important thing to keep in mind. And then probably a good thing I want to think about is like that Frank Zappa song "Dumb All Over," and it's at the last bit of the song, and it's like, hey, we can't really be dumb if we're just following God's orders. Well, let's get serious. God knows what he's doing. He wrote this book here, and the great book says he made us all to be just like him. So if we're dumb, then God is dumb, and maybe even a little ugly on the side. Dumb all over, a little ugly on the side. Dumb all over, a little ugly on the side. Enough of that. Though canst not believe how marvelous is this vision of the arrow, and it could never be shut out. Except the lords of vision troubled the waters of the pool, the mind of the seer, but they send forth a wind that is a cloud of angels, and they beat the water with their feet. A little wave splash up, they are memories, for the seer have no head. It is expanded to the universe, a vast and silent sea, crowned with the stars of night. Yet in the very midst thereof is the arrow, little images of things that were are the foams upon the waves, and there is a contest between the vision and the memories. I prayed unto the lords of the vision, saying, O my lords, take not away this wonder from my sight. And they said, it must needs be. Rejoice thereof, though have been permitted to behold in for a moment this arrow, the austere, the august. But the vision is accomplished, and we have sent forth a great wind against thee. For thou canst not penetrate by force, who hast refused it, nor by authority, for thou hast trampled it underfoot. Thou art bereft of all but understanding. O thou that art no more than a little pile of dust. Damn. And the image rises up against me and constrain me, so that the aether is shut against me. Only things of the mind and of the body are open unto me. The hewn stone is dull, for that which I see there is but a memory. This is fucking incredible. It hurts my feelings when people don't like this stuff. But now we do the obligatory finish with the understanding of Aleister Crowley's Thoth Tarot by Longmire Duquette. Okay, let's look at a few. I always like looking at the bottom ones. So diseases: apoplexy and thrombosis, hips and thighs, pseudodyna huntress. Interesting. Okay. Pour thine all freely from the vase in thy right hand, and lose no drop. Haha, no thy left hand a vase? Transmute all wholly into the image of thy will. Bring each of its token of perfection. Dissolve the pearl in the wine cup, drink and make manifest the virtue of that pearl. I think it's referring to the seed, because I think... Don't know why clams grow pearls. I'm not going to look it up, but it can't be bothered. But, yep. Temperance is a kettle of fish. I think that's actually a bit of a Harris to Crowley. So I think it's just referring to like the concoction of life and fish, and you know how we were sort of talking about that with Nun and death. The card over there, same sort of thing. Let's go. Sagittarius means the archer. The traditional image of this card is that of Diana and the huntress. We see echoes of this original theme in the two bows near the top of the card, and the tiny upward pointing arrow rising in the rainbow hues of the cauldron. The celebrated Diana of Ephesus is portrayed in statuary as having many breasts. The deeply plunging neckline on the dress of the art card's main figure reveals three columns of neatly stacked breasts reminiscent of the famous Ephesian statue of Diana. With these exceptions, the Sagittarian imagery is almost completely smothered in alchemical symbolism. It is. So, like, it's quite potent now that looking at it. So I actually might look at this card myself a little bit more after this one. After all, as Crowley points out, this card represents the consummation of the marriage which took place in R26. And art is the coagulate, the lovers, the soul. Also, in this card, the white tincture of the Empress is united with the red tincture of the Emperor. And so, yeah, maybe when you look at all the alchemical trumps, so like Empress, Emperor, lovers, and art, maybe look at all of them and you might be able to see. If you have eyes to see, you might be able to see all of them, all the secrets. Also in this card, the white tincture of the Empress is, we already learned in Chapter 8 that the Magus, the Empress, and the Emperor represent the alchemical elements of mercury and sulfur. We also learned that these three principles, when combined and perfectly balanced, create the universal solvent vitriol. What we haven't as yet learned is what to do with our vitriol. Just how are we supposed to dissolve with it? It's kind of interesting because I haven't really thought about that. So I guess the simplest answer would be to say the vitriol dissolves old life in order to create new life. Let's look at the art card and see where that new life is going to come from. First of all, notice that the figures in the forefront of the card are positioned before a huge golden egg. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, that's a massive golden egg right there. Right there. There you go. This, of course, the Orphic egg, and everything we see happen in front of the egg is actually the secret work that is being done inside. Shimmering around the egg as if to advertise the radiant life within is a golden aura displaying a beautiful penmanship, the alchemical motto, Vista interior terra rectify inventiva occulta lapida. Visit the interior parts of the earth. By rectification, those shall find the hidden stone. And now that we sort of reiterated that, I think all that simply means is you can only, like, to visit, to gain, like, knowledge, you have to go through experience. And, like, you can just think of earthy life as experience, and the earth doesn't have to be literally the ground or gold and that kind of thing. Just experience. Like, everything that happens in this world. Cooking up the potion that is making that visit possible is a strange and wonderful being whom we first meet as two characters, the bride and groom in R26, the lovers. The Black King and White King have now merged and become a single character with two heads. The White Bride now has black hair and wears the golden crown. The Black Groom now has golden hair and wears the silver crown. His arms are exposed to reveal that the body is also counterchanged. Her dress is decorated with both bees and serpents, and he stands behind a cauldron into which she pours water from a silver chalice from her left hand and fire from her right hand. I'm just looking at a cut that I got today, and I had to cover with a glove, and I didn't have to cover the other one, so that's yeah. I really do consider looking at every single phenomena as some kind of communication to my soul. Everything. And that's sort of how I think I've been able to sort of get anywhere, is because I sort of now use the universe as an extension of cognition, or just the experience of day-to-day living. Because we've brought the ineffable to the level of the mundane, but the ineffable is in the mundane. Really simple shit. It's quite incredible, and it's sad that no one. Maybe that's not the point, man. Maybe I'm not supposed to. Maybe not everyone's supposed to do all this shit. I don't know. Maybe we need some people who are just happy being clerks and not really being aware of themselves or whatever. And I shouldn't hate them for it, I guess, because it's not like the path has been easy. Anyway, I need to stop feeling sorry for myself. um, the white now has here's her arms exposed. Yeah, here's her dress is decorated with both bees and serpents, and he stands behind a cauldron in which she pours water from a silver chalice from her left hand and fire from his right hand. I think that's really interesting that the she, he, his, her, his, he, she. I think it's sort of implying that those two androgen figures, and they're sort of indistinguishable. Flanking the cauldron as they flank the Orphic egg and the lovers stands the lion and the eagle. They have also made a dramatic change. The lion has turned white and the eagle is now red, having transmutated to their opposite characteristic by the dual baptism of fire and water and union of the white and red tinctures. There you go. So it's a union of white and red tincture. So rubido and albedo, which is, I think, the really important part of it. So you're supposed to keep the albedo and rubido, but eventually, obviously, take apart the negrito. And all those opposite forces are made possible with consciousness. Gold and light and electricity and electrons. At the very bottom of the card, the fire and the water exist together in harmony. Crowley writes, but this is only a crude symbol of the spiritual idea, which is the satisfaction of the desire of the incomplete element of one kind to satisfy its formula by assimilation of its equal and opposite. And yeah, it's a bit like how they were talking about like things becoming their opposite. So in some ways, the male becomes the female, and the female becomes male. Up becomes down, down becomes up, left becomes right, right becomes left, and so on and so forth. And it's sort of the yin and yang symbol, especially since yin and yang rotates. I think that's almost meant to imply that one becomes the other. Like at one point, the light is above, and then so on and so forth. But I digress. Crowley writes, but this is only crude symbol of the spiritual idea, which is the satisfaction of the desire of the incomplete element of one kind of to satisfy its formula. By assimilation of its equal and its opposite. Sorry, we did that. I understand that for many reasons of this book, these forays in the strange and abstruse world of alchemy may seem like unwelcome detours from the subject of tarot. They are, however, Crowley's forays, and they are an important aspect of the Thoth tarot that set it apart from the more traditional decks. The alchemical aspect of the Thoth tarot are implicit in the fundamental structure of the tarot itself. Indeed, until I became familiar with the alchemical process, Crowley introduces in the Book of Thoth, I really had no idea why the original title of the Temperance art card was The Daughter of the Reconcilers, the Bringer Forth of Life. Right. That finishes that one, everyone. Anyway, guys, I really hope you enjoyed this one. I certainly did. That was incredible. Anyway, I will see you guys later. Please like, share, subscribe to my Substack. And I'll see you guys later. And my YouTube. Bye.